I don't think people understand how the news works. Take this story in Philadelphia where this guy goes to steal some hats from a Macy's. He goes in, he tries to take some hats, and some security guards stop him. He leaves the Macy's and he comes back and he stabs one of the Macy's security guards. The other Macy's guard jumps in and he stabs him too. Then he runs away. The cops apprehend him at the subway station where he tries to throw the knife, but they catch him and they get the knife. Sadly, one of the security officers dies from his stab wound. The other is in the hospital. This is a terrible incident, and it took place broad daylight, Philadelphia, at a Macy's. It plays right into the narrative that we've been dealing with, which is all the crime that we've been seeing going on in these retail establishments. It's an ongoing narrative that crime is out of control. It's off the charts. Shoplifting is illegal and it's against the law. This is a fact. It's also a fact that the death of Eric Harrison was tragic and that the hospitalization of Christian Mitchell should have been avoided. It's also a fact that 30-year-old Tyrell Tunnell, who killed Eric Harrison and wounded Mr. Mitchell, is a scumbag who needs to go to jail. But what is also a fact, on top of all those other facts, is that this narrative about shoplifting being such a thing that's destroying our society and that these groups and groups and groups of people going into these stores is basically just some racist crap that's been puffed up in order to help people win elections. Just like pretty much everything else in our media globe. I mean, whenever you watch news and you see a story, you always got to remember there's a reason why it's being put in front of you. It's a reason why it's being shown. It's a reason why it's everywhere you look. Retail theft is up. Retail theft is up. Guess what else is up? Election time's up. That's what's up. See, an incident like what happened in Philadelphia reignites a conversation about theft and about our out-of-control civilization, which is actually just a broader conversation about crime, private prisons, law and order, mass incarceration, defund the police, police reform, Democrats, Republicans, Bloods and Crips, and the list goes on. If you really want to get funky with it, you could say black and white. But let's slow down. Let's slow down. In the past 16 months, major cities like New York and Los Angeles have saw a 16% increase in shoplifting compared to 2019. While these numbers seem alarming, it's important to note that, excluding New York City, shoplifting incidents are 7% lower than 2019. I wonder why you haven't been hearing that stat. So what is driving these perceptions? Is organized crime on the rise? Is there a wave coming? Or are we in the middle of a wave? While retail organized crime is on the rise with groups of criminals targeting stores, 95% of retail shoplifting consists of one or two individuals, not groups. 95% of retail crime is one or two individuals, not groups. 95% of retail crime consists of one or two individuals, not groups. And there's more to the story. During the pandemic, we saw a rise in people stealing bare necessities. You know, like toothpaste, soap. That happened. As for the response, retailers, they didn't want their security to engage, nor did they want their employees to engage, because too often it ends in violence, and it's just not worth it. Merchandise in the stores are insured. What we're seeing is not just a story about crime on the rise. What we're seeing is an important opportunity for us to look and see how do we respond to these incidents, and also to be a little bit smarter about why these incidents are getting so much media coverage. I want you to understand what's really behind all this stuff. Don't just be a consumer. Don't just be somebody who reports, oh my God, look what's happening in Chicago or Philadelphia, Washington, D.C., but recognize when you're being played. Historically, shoplifting has always had an outsized effect on our media as far as coverage and how they focused on it. Videos of thieves smashing and grabbing merchandise and fleeing from stores. Companies are calling these thefts a national crisis. Leaders in both political parties are talking about cracking down on crime. Donald Trump, the former president and the front runner of the 2024 GOP election, he's talking about shooting people that shoplift from stores.
You'll have 300 young people who are not looking for a good future walk into a store, big department store, and just pillage it. And if you happen to be there when they're there, they'll knock the hell out of you and kill you in some cases. And we will immediately stop all of the pillaging and theft. Very simply, if you rob a store, you can fully expect to be shot as you are leaving that store. Shot.
See, the crime narrative has always been a means to an end. A way for politicians to attract votes. A way to differentiate themselves from other candidates. And oh my goodness, don't forget the donations and the endorsements from organizations like the police union. Lobbyists from like private prisons. Don't forget, America is the #1 incarcerator in the Western world. You don't become #1 without doing some work. See, there was a move for major reforms back in 2020 after the murder of George Floyd. Police reform was everywhere. People were talking about defunding the police. That never really happened. What really happened was more funds got put into policing. Why no one reports that? It's kind of weird. But what did happen was, instead of getting a 7% increase, maybe it was 4%. But it was always an increase, never an actual decrease in the amount of money. In fact, we're building now what's called cop cities. It costs more money to build cop cities, not less. Many political leaders and retailers are pushing for stricter laws and also more police presence, which is what? More money for mass incarceration, not less. This is not just about numbers and policies. This is about a deeper societal issue and a narrative that's been propagated throughout time in the United States. See, these responses to these narratives have actual impacts into the real world, particularly Black and brown communities. Real-life consequences for puffed up narratives. See, any push for police reform will always be countered with, uh-oh, crime is rising. Uh-oh, the numbers are off the hook. Uh-oh, civilization is coming to an end. We got people buying into that narrative at all the time, just falling for it. Reporting stories out of context, not looking at the data, not taking the time to do any due diligence. Just basically reading news articles and not realizing the larger context and what they're really a part of when they do so. There's a bigger fight going on. And even some people with good intentions are on the wrong side of it, not understanding what they're even doing. Look, I'm not defending Tyrone Tunnel. Lock his ass up. But we need to get to the broader reasoning, the broader causes for this. So the point I want to make here is not just that Eric Harrison lost his life because we have these violent shoplifters, but also the fact that we have been reinventing our responses to shoplifting with a hands-off approach for a reason. Because too many times we end up with incidents like this where people lose their lives. But that's not the narrative many people are running with. They're running with the narrative that, oh, look what happened in Philadelphia. Crime is crazy. Instead of, hey, let's not engage with shoplifters. Because this is what can happen when we engage with shoplifters. Shoplifting, a crime that many can see as minor, becomes a battleground in a larger fight for votes and elections. Law and order. So when companies call theft a national crisis, it's important that we look at it with a rational point of view. That we see it for what it is. And that we don't jump out the gym about it because we could be being played. This is not just about crime. This is about how do we address crime. See, as we remember Eric Harrison, and as we punish Tyrone Tunnel, let us also be mature adults, be knowledgeable, be wise, and be savvy when it comes to the machinations, the devices, the schemes, and the strategies of those in power to exert more power and to put more money into the criminal justice system. My condolences to the family of Eric Harrison. Speedy recovery from Mr. Christian Mitchell. But I got my eye on these news entities that are puffing this up as if this is a catastrophe, what's happening in our country with people running into stores. See, I think there's a larger narrative here that they're taking advantage of in order for their own means, their own schemes. It's a lot of money at play here. Rest in peace, Eric Harrison. But let's not allow ourselves to be played. When the housing crisis hit, when multiple billions of dollars went missing, when $1 trillion left the Pentagon, there were no cameras. I wonder why. All right, my name is Tim Black. Support this channel by subscribing and becoming a member. Go to jointimblack.com. If you like what we're doing, become a part of it. And when your friends say, yo, dog, that man Tim Black is on it, tell them, yeah, I rock with him. You know why? It's a new day.